You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy to implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life.
When life gives you lemons, ask for something higher in protein. Anonymous. How's it going, Travis?
Good. My schedule changes again next week, and I'm very excited. I'm switching from 4 9s to 5 shorter days.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm getting off at 1 on Friday.
Wow, that's nice.
It's going to be really nice because Julie is off on Friday, so.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
So you get more time with her?
Well, yeah, plus we can have like 2.5-day weekends every weekend if we want.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, so it'll be nice. Also, I'm dog sitting this weekend, and I literally can't tell the dogs apart. Especially when they come up looking at me. They are identical looking.
They do. They look identical. It's crazy.
Yeah. They're beautiful black labs, but they look the same, and I can't tell Duke from Riley. It's nice and cool here. Fall's here, and I am loving it.
Hallelujah.
I don't know if fall's technically here. When's summer end? Is it?
September 22nd, I think, is the first day of fall.
Ooh, so it just came.
It just happened. Yeah.
All right. How's it going, Lauren?
It's going good. Work has been pretty busy lately, which makes the days seem to go really fast. My student is starting with me this week, which I am a little nervous about. I'm splitting her with another PT coworker, so I'll be really curious to see what she thinks of our really long travel days, because both of us have them. We definitely have a very unique work environment, and I feel like anytime I tell people what our days look like, they give me this like wide-eyed look like, what? You drive 8 hours a week for work? You work 2.5 hours away? I think it seems like really intimidating to other people until you actually do it and realize how nice it is. But it'll be an adjustment for our student, I think, for sure. I think she's going to end up having like 3 12s between the two of us, but then like having a really long weekend and then like working 3 12s in a row. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's a
I say nice. I just said that I'm switching to short shifts because I don't like longer shifts. So 3 12s would like kill me.
It's rough. Yeah. I mean, like I don't do 3 12s. I do a 12, a 10, an 8, and an 8 usually. Those somewhere around there. But between the two of us,
drive time.
That's the best part, I think, is like, yeah, it's a 12-hour day, but like 5 of it is driving, and you're getting paid the same. So like, heck yeah, listen to music, talk to people, whatever. That's what I'm saying. Is like people give me this look like you're crazy, and I'm like, no, I get paid to sit and talk. Like that's great. Anyway. We are also dog sitting this weekend, so Keely's bestie Paisley is here, and they have been having a blast playing together all day, which is super nice for us because then we have at least one tired dog. Paisley hardly ever sleeps, though.
But Keely's tired.
Which is great. So what are we going to talk about today, Travis?
Well, high-protein diets are becoming very popular today, and if you remember the Atkins diet back in the 90s, it was all the rage. But then I feel like those types of diets lost popularity. Since they are coming back and I hear about them from my patients all the time, I thought it would be wise to look into the research and see if these diets are healthy and have scientific backing, or if it's just more hype in the diet and nutrition space, which if you pay attention to the diet and nutrition space, it's all hype. So Lauren, how much protein do we need?
Well, protein is essential for life. It's a building block of every human cell and is involved in the vital biochemical functions of the human body. It's particularly important in growth, development, and tissue repair. Protein is one of the 3 major macronutrients, along with carbohydrates and fat. So consuming enough protein is required to stave off malnutrition. It may also be important to preserve muscle mass and strength as we age. And in recent years, some have advocated a higher protein diet to rev up metabolism and make it easier to lose excess weight. The ideal amount of protein you should consume each day is a bit uncertain, though. Commonly quoted recommendations are 56 grams a day for men, 46 grams a day for women. There's also a weight-based recommended daily allowance of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So for a 140-pound person, that comes to 51 grams of protein each day. Active people, especially those who are trying to build muscle mass, may need more than that.
That's so low. being an exerciser my whole life and mostly being a weightlifter, most of the recommendations I have seen, but they're exercise and weightlifting specific, are 1 gram per pound of body weight, not kilogram.
Yeah.
Which, remember, a kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So you're talking like I don't know, 40% of what the recommendations that I
that's a lot less
seen. And I don't get 1 gram per pound of body weight, but I get a lot more than 0.8 grams per kilogram.
Seems very low.
Yeah.
You can also measure based on percent of calories. So for an active adult, about 10% of calories should come from protein. Or you can pay more attention to the type of protein in your diet rather than the amount. For example, moderating consumption of red meat and increasing healthier protein sources such as salmon, yogurt, or beans. But some experts suggest that these recommendations are all wrong and that we should be consuming more protein, up to twice the standard recommendations. Still, others claim that the average American diet already contains too much protein.
So there's others saying up to twice the standard recommendation. They're in my vote that I've read in history.
Yeah. So Travis, can too much protein be harmful?
Well, you know what George Strait says? Too much of a good thing is a good thing. But he may be wrong here. The shorter answer is yes. As with most things in life, there can be too much of a good thing, and if you eat too much protein, there may be a price to pay. For example, people that eat very high protein diets have a higher risk of kidney stones. There are a lot of short-term studies that demonstrate positive results with high protein diets for weight loss as well as other benefits, but there are not many long-term studies investigating the effects or safety. So jumping into some of the research that we do have, there are several clinical trials of 6 to 12 months in duration that have found that consuming more protein than the recommended dietary allowance not only reduces body weight, but also enhances body composition by decreasing fat mass while preserving fat-free mass in both low-calorie and standard calorie diets. I'm going to make a note here and say that 12 months is long-term in the terms of scientific studies. So when everything we read constantly says we need more long-term studies, and it's like, well, 12 months, that's pretty long-term, and there's several of those that demonstrate these diets as safe. A high-protein diet may also lower cardiovascular disease risk factors such as blood triglycerides and blood pressure. Now, there's also people, not studies, but people, dietitians and nutritionists, let's say nutritionists and physicians and these type of people that'll say that high protein diets will increase your triglycerides and blood pressure. But there's zero scientific evidence to support that we have seen. If you remember back to our Is Meat Healthy episode, which was number 75, meat is the #1 source of protein, and soy is the only other source of complete proteins outside of meat. And we found that all the fear-mongering about meat in society, which there is a lot if you pay attention at all, was not represented in the literature at all. Instead, meat was shown to have positive effects on longevity, mental, and physical health. A high-protein diet has not been reported to have adverse effects, again, kind of like meat. So a high-protein diet has not been reported to have adverse effects on health in terms of bone density or renal function in healthy adults as of 2020. In other short-term studies, when compared with high-carb diets relatively high in protein promote a greater reduction in body fat and blood pressure and an improved lipid profile. Again, that's the exact opposite of what the fear-mongering will tell you. Mm-hmm. In society, I just don't understand it. Like, we were shocked. Lauren and I were shocked, by the way, when we did that episode 75 and saw that meat was not only what I expected was that there were going to be some studies on both sides and blah, blah, blah. But when we saw that there were meta-analysis and systematic reviews that consistently showed that meat is actually healthier than a vegetarian diet, and promotes longevity as well as physical and mental health. The mental health really shocked me. We were shocked because we didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Because for at least, 2 decades, we've been hearing
Forever.
Yeah.
Like as long as I remember.
I was going to say at least our entire adult lives, and I think longer than that, we've been hearing that we should eat less meat and Americans eat too much meat. But the science kind of shuts that down. So most studies have paid little attention to the nature of dietary carbohydrate in the comparison diet, but 2 recent studies suggest that even when whole grains, vegetables, and fruits predominate and dietary fiber is appreciably raised, I love that word, the high protein diets still provide benefits and are healthier overall. Most of these studies are shorter term, so of course, like we said earlier, it'd be beneficial to have some longer term results. However, about as long term as you get is 12 months, which is plenty of time to see biomarkers that are going to show, cholesterol levels, blood pressure, that kind of stuff, and whether something is healthy or not.
Yeah, so there are some studies on high protein diet and exercise in obese adults. One particular study in 2021 examined the effects of exercise alone or in combination with a high protein diet on markers of cardiometabolic health in middle-aged adults with obesity. 69 middle-aged adults with obesity were randomly assigned to either the control group, the exercise group, or the exercise combined with high protein diet group. Results after 12 weeks showed that combined high protein diet and exercise intervention significantly decreased fat mass and improved lipid profiles, insulin sensitivity, glucose tolerance, and inflammation in the middle-aged adults with obesity.
Wow. Protein intake can also affect your bone health. Adequate nutrition plays an important role in the development and maintenance of bone structures resistant to usual mechanical stresses. If you are a woman, especially if you are a white woman, please listen carefully. In addition to calcium and the presence of an adequate supply of vitamin D, dietary proteins represent key nutrients for bone health and can therefore function in the prevention of osteoporosis. And I said woman and especially white women because women, especially white women, are more at risk of osteoporosis, and osteoporosis has kind of become the norm. I think it's over 50% now in women over 70 years old.
That's
so
awful.
If you don't want your bones to be super fragile where you bump up against the countertop and you might break a femur.
Yeah, it is not fun. I have seen it firsthand.
Yeah. I see it all the time.
It is in my family. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, you might want to consider increasing your protein intake. Several studies point to the positive effect of high protein diet on bone mineral density or content.
Yeah, so middle-aged and older adults in particular need protein to help build and maintain muscle mass, which starts naturally decreasing as early as your 30s. While you likely won't notice such changes at 35, a few decades later, they can pose some real risks. Muscle supports our skeletal system. When you combine loss of muscle with loss of bone, you've got the perfect storm to fall and fracture a hip or break an arm. So in a 2015 study, people over the age of 50 who ate high protein diets were better able to maintain and rebuild muscle compared with those following the current recommended daily allowance, which apparently is 0.8 grams per kilogram.
Yeah.
Additionally, a 2018 study that tracked almost 3,000 seniors over 2 decades found that those who downed the most protein were 30% less likely to become functionally impaired than those who ate minimal amounts of protein.
30%? That's ridiculous. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Just by your diet.
Yeah, that's a huge number.
Wow.
Research is also now showing that not only the total protein intake, but also the number of high protein containing meals are associated with muscle mass in frail and pre-frail elderly. In one study, protein intake and number of meals with either 20 to 30 plus grams of protein were significantly associated with greater total and appendicular lean mass.
That's an interesting study, and I'm gonna make a side note that that's probably because your body can only digest so much protein at a time. So what I've seen is 30 to 40 grams of protein at one time. A healthy human can only digest, so the rest of it you just end up peeing out.
Right.
So that's why the number of meals is important, which is an interesting thing, and good that they looked at it. Good thinking by the researchers.
Yeah, I think that's very important to note.
So with those meals, another study, a 12-week randomized control study with 70 participants with a mean age of 53.7 years, which they said was elderly, but that's like middle age to anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't think you're old if you're 53.7 years.
No.
53.8, you're getting there.
Yeah, close.
So they had two groups that both received 10 frozen meals per week. Group 1 was the regular protein group, and 15% of the calories in the meals were protein in those frozen meals. Group 2 was the high protein group. 25% of the calories in the meals were protein, and they measured endurance via the 6-minute walk test, body weight, hand grip strength, body fat percentage, and intramuscular adiposity. That's a hard word for me to say, but what it means is that the fat content in your muscle. So their findings were that both groups reduced body weight, BMI, and total body fat percentage, which just says that these people were not eating very healthy. This is probably 70 random people from society, and we are not a very healthy society, folks. The high protein group improved their 6-minute walk test, which means they improved their endurance and reduced intramuscular adiposity. Again, that's the fat content in your muscle compared to the regular protein group. So both groups had significant overall health improvements. However, the high protein group had an improved endurance and decreased fat content in their muscles compared to the low protein group. The high protein group did have one negative finding in that they found increased inflammatory protein markers in the high protein group. So, how does a high protein diet work? High protein diets are increasingly popularized, I already said that, in lay media as a promising strategy for weight loss by providing the twin benefits of improving satiety and decreasing fat mass. So satiety is just how full you feel. Some of the potential mechanisms that account for weight loss associated with high protein diets involve increased secretion of satiety hormones. Increased satiety helps to decrease energy intake. If you feel more full, you're not going to eat as much. It's pretty self-explanatory. And not eating as much, decreasing your caloric intake, is requisite for successful weight loss. The theoretical negative side effects, I've already mentioned the inflammatory markers, inflammatory proteins. Other potential side effects on a long-term diet could include low carb and low fiber intake, which can cause bad breath, headaches, and constipation, and also potential worsening kidney function for those with kidney disease. Now, remember, these are all theories. They have not been shown in the research that we have so far. So up to 12 months in healthy individuals, at least, we have not seen these things come true. I don't think anybody's done high protein diets and kidney disease. So I don't think we can speak intelligently on that one.
Yeah. So how do we eat a high protein diet? There are many possible ways to include more protein in your diet, even for those with other dietary restrictions. For example, those who follow a vegetarian or vegan diet or those who avoid dairy can still eat a high protein diet. You can either adjust your current diet to include more protein or follow a specific high protein diet plan. But here are some tips on how to start. Figure out your individual protein needs, which will depend on your body weight. Make meal plans for the week. Find and use high quality proteins. Include at least 25 to 30 grams of protein in each meal. Keep a food journal to track the amount and types of food that you eat. Eat well-balanced meals and include both plant and lean animal sources of protein in your diet.
So in conclusion, there are short-term benefits that are pretty well established for high protein diets. There are theoretical concerns, again, about the long-term consequences, and we will need more research in order to have an opinion on whether this can be healthy long-term, although we do have some evidence that it can be healthy for at least 12 months. A challenge this week, however, is to assess whether you feel good on your current diet or not. If yes, and you are happy with your weight and health status, stay the course, and we don't recommend any major changes. If no, however, maybe consider a high-protein alternative, but make sure to monitor the way you feel and your health markers with your medical provider. Great job today, Lauren.
You too, Travis. This was fun.
This was fun. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week with another episode that we don't know what we're going to talk about yet.
Surprise. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.